Hi, I'm Clive Thomas, the Principal Consultant with APAS, Alaska Political Advocacy Strategies.
And I'm here today to give you a tour of the government buildings and the Capitol downtown in Juneau. The State Capitol building was built in 1929 to 31. There are several buildings around here that may be of value to you if you come to Juneau to lobby. We have the court building here, Spam Can. This is the old Alaska State Office building, and behind that we'll go into later, is the SOB, the State Office building. So let me give you a quick overview of the legislature as a building. There are 5 full floors here, but 6 floors. We're now on the ground floor, G, which is only half a floor. You can't get out on the back of this floor. The first floor is basically offices and some committee rooms. The second floor is where the chambers are, the House and the Senate. The third floor is the governor's floor. The fourth floor is just basically legislators' offices. And the top floor is important because the House and Senate Finance Committees are. All legislators are housed in this building. This is my good friend Dave Donaldson, APRN reporter. Some of you probably know his voice very well from listening to Alaska News Nightly and various other programs.
This is a very busy place during the session. There are a lot of reporters in here, a lot of noise goes back and forth. The entire Capitol is just swarming with people, so it's a matter of finding a little quiet spot to go.
If you ever have to meet with a member of the press or want to drop something off to the press, this is the place to come to. What I find the most interesting on this whole floor is this photograph of the territorial legislature. Here we are now on the second floor, which is the floor where the chambers are. On the right here, which is the mountainside, is the House. 40 seats in the House. To my left, which is on the channel side, is the Senate with 20 seats. Don't think that the major business occurs in the House and the Senate chambers, because things are usually greased by the time they get there. I know that most people, when they come to Juneau, they want to sit in the galleries, but that's not really where the action occurs. The action occurs in committee, it occurs in the caucuses. So let's first of all go and take a quick peek in the Senate gallery. On our way to the House chamber, let's just briefly stop off at the Speaker's chambers here. This is the chamber for the House Speaker. This part of the building is also useful to know about because it used to be where the territorial legislature had one of its chambers. Here we have the House chamber. 3 buttons on each legislator's desk. One is a blue one for calling pages. The red and the green buttons are for voting yes or no on votes. Obviously the green is for yes and the red is for no. So here we are on the governor's floor. To my right is the governor's office. On the wall here you see the whole of the governors of the state so far. So this is the Lieutenant Governor's end of the 3rd floor. Lieutenant Governor's basic job is to keep the electoral rolls, and he's in charge, or she's in charge of elections. Other than that, they don't usually have a major policy role, though some have. Well, here we are on the 4th floor. It's a tough hike up those stairs, and I'm not as young as I used to be. Not much to say about the 4th floor. It consists entirely of legislators' offices. There's no committee rooms on this floor. You may need to come up here to see a legislator, but for no other reason. Here we are on the top floor of the Capitol, and this floor is a floor where a lot of power is dispensed, because on this floor are the House and Senate Finance Committees. On the channel side, which is the side with the odd number rooms, 5I1, 502, 503, is the House Finance Chamber, and we'll take a quick peek in there in a moment. Just a quick peek because we're going to go the other side of the building afterwards, the even-numbered side, and we're going to drop by and see Senator Egan from Juneau. You can see behind me where the committee sits. In front of me is the table where people give testimony, and behind that is where people sit. One point of protocol before we move to Senate Finance: you never sit in any of the chairs of the committee. It's just off limits. It's part of the protocol of the legislature. I learned this the very hard way. When I first came to Juneau in the early 80s, and it was up here, it was the summertime, I believe, I sat in a senator's chair. The staffer came by and just lambasted me. So don't learn the hard way like me. Take my word for it. It's not a thing you want to do. Morgan, how are you doing? Good to see you.
How are you?
This is Morgan Hobson, and Morgan is a staffer for Senator Egan, and actually Morgan was one of my students many years ago back at UAS and is now working as a staffer. Senator, good to see you. How are you doing? Good to see you. What's the most positive thing about being a legislator, or in your case a senator?
The most rewarding thing in my job is helping constituents. A lot of constituents have a myriad of different issues, And it's most rewarding for me to solve constituent problems.
If we can ask you a little favor here, you're on Senate Finance. We
am.
want to just take a quick peek in the Senate Finance committee room, and so who better to give us a little overview than a senator who's on that committee, and maybe you could even sit in the chair that you use, and we can we could imagine that room is full and there's committees going on, but there won't be.
And when we do meet, it is full. Every meeting we have is jam-packed.
Here we are at the Baranoff Hotel, but it's not so much the hotel we're concerned about, it's in fact that this used to be a big meeting place for politicians. There was a room in here called the Bubba Room. Every major politician had a table. Business wasn't done up on the Capitol, it was done in the Baranoff. The governor's mansion, built in 1915, not important politically, but where the governor lives. The atrium of the State Office Building, the SOB for short, people call it locally here. The departments have a very important influence upon what happens in the legislature, as does the governor's office. So you may need to come to this building. And there are other buildings. There's the Alaska State Office building across there, Department of Transportation out the road. The most important thing about this building to me is I was married on the very spot I'm talking to you from, on the 26th of April, 1986. Here's a photograph. I was married to my wife, Susan Burke, who has got 2 strikes against her because she's a lobbyist and a lawyer. One thing I want to make clear, and that many of you may not know, is that when you come down to lobby or to advocate your cause, the legislature may not be the first place you need to start. In fact, you may not need to be in Juneau to start lobbying. A lot of lobbying needs to be done on the departments. Remember, it's not all legislature when you're trying to influence the political process.